She sat me down at the kitchen table like she was about to hand me a grocery list. Her eyes were dry, sharp, surgical. Not a flicker of regret. Not even a twitch. Honestly, she began, twirling her phone in her fingers. "You're draining." I stared at her. Draining? After 10 years, that's the word she picked? "Give me a break," she continued, voice flat. "I need to remember what freedom feels like. Don't text. Don't call." She stood up, pushed in her chair like it was just another Tuesday morning, and walked out the front door without looking back. No bags. No explanations. Just gone. And I sat there like a fool, still holding the coffee I made her 20 minutes earlier. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Not from her. No texts, no missed calls, no apologies. Just a string of messages from friends. "Dude, check her Instagram." I opened it, and my stomach collapsed. Her story was a reel of betrayal. A new hotel room every few hours. Ocean views, champagne flutes, designer dresses. Laughter behind the camera. And that voice, her voice, giggling in a way she hadn't in months. Not alone. One photo hit like a bullet. 2 hands clinking glasses across a rooftop bar in Miami. One of them was hers, that same chipped nail polish she'd had the night before she told me I was draining. The other? A man's. Tan, vain, with a luxury watch I definitely didn't buy her. And there was more. The next story was her reflection in a mirror, her robe slightly undone, lips smudged red. Behind her on the bed, a shadow moved. A man's torso, unmistakable. Shirtless. Laughing. Like he owned her. Like I never existed. That's when it started. The shaking in my hands. Not rage. Not yet. Just the unraveling. I replayed our last conversation like some courtroom recording. Her tone. Her expression. That subtle smirk like she was proud of dropping the axe clean through my spine. And I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in that same kitchen chair, with her untouched coffee still sitting across from me, ice cold. I looked around the house. Her jacket still on the hook. Her favorite mug in the sink. The scent of her lavender shampoo still lingering in the hallway. Everything she left behind felt like it was laughing at me. I opened our bedroom closet. Half empty. Some of her dresses gone. Lingerie missing. The one she hadn't worn in months. She planned this. For how long? Days? Weeks? While I was making her dinner and rubbing her feet after work. I grabbed my keys. I drove. I didn't know where. Just out. Away. I ended up by the lake we used to visit. We had our 2nd anniversary there. She cried that day happy tears, she said. Swore she couldn't believe how lucky she was to have me. Liar. I sat on the dock with the engine still running. Looked at the water, remembered how she used to beg me to take photos of her there. How she'd say, "Let me feel pretty." Now some other guy's the one making her feel that way. What killed me most wasn't that she left. It's that she made it look like I was the problem. Like I was the burden she finally had the strength to shake off. She turned our marriage into a leash. And now she's running wild, off it, flaunting every second of her so-called freedom to the world, like I was some cage she broke out of. And I knew then, this wasn't a breakdown. It was a setup. She didn't leave me to find herself. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Her perfume was still on the pillow. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that damn Instagram story looping again and again, the clink of glasses, the robe, the hand on her thigh, and the reflection she didn't bother to crop out. At 3 a.m., I opened her laptop. She never logged out of anything. Part of me didn't want to look. The other part was already dying and needed the kill shot. Her email was a mess of forwarded booking confirmations and secret conversations. Flights, dinners, even spa reservations. One thread was labeled Weekend Reset Red Heart. It wasn't from a hotel. It was from him. His name was Marcus. That smug name that just felt like it belonged to a gym mirror selfie. His messages were full of private jokes and plans. "Can't wait to see that little dress again," one said. "Let's do that rooftop place you liked." He called her queen. She replied, "Finally a man who knows how to treat me." Treat her? I paid the mortgage. I cleaned up after her dog. I fixed her damn car when she hit that deer last winter and lied to the insurance company because she was too scared to admit she was on her phone. I stared at the screen, not blinking. My jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth might snap. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was intentional. Every sweet nothing she sent him was another dagger in my spine. She hadn't drifted away from me, she'd run toward him. By morning, I knew I couldn't pretend I didn't know. I needed to see her face when I asked. Not for closure. Not for peace. Just to watch her squirm. She came back that afternoon like nothing happened. Wore a hoodie, Hair up, sunglasses still perched on her head. She looked refreshed, lighter, like someone who just escaped prison. I was on the couch. Her bags hit the floor. "Oh," she said. "Didn't expect you home." Clearly. She paused. Probably tried to gauge how much I knew. I didn't give her a hint. Just stared. "You look like hell," she finally muttered, brushing past me toward the kitchen. I followed. "Who's Marcus?" I asked casually. Too casually. Like I was asking about a coworker. Her shoulders stiffened. She reached for a glass of water. Took a sip. Didn't turn around. "Why?" I walked closer. "Because your queen left her throne open." Now she turned. And there it was, that flicker. That moment she knew the game was up. But instead of guilt, she smirked. "Took you long enough." That hit harder than the affair. "Wow," I whispered. "You're not even sorry." "Sorry?" She laughed. "For what? For finally living a little? For not wasting another year pretending I don't feel dead inside next to you." Dead inside. That's how she described our marriage. I felt my fingers curl into fists. Not to strike. Just to stop them from shaking. "You had options," I said. "You could have told me. You could have left clean." "Oh, please," she spat. "You would have begged. Cried. Thrown some dramatic tantrum. I don't have time for that." She walked to the sink. Dumped her water out. Turned back like she was waiting for me to beg anyway. "You're not even denying it," I said. She shrugged. "Why should I?" Silence stretched between us like a blade. Then she delivered the kill shot. "You're not fun anymore. You used to have dreams. Now you're just routine. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you complain." I needed something that didn't feel like a checklist. I looked at the woman I once swore to love forever. The woman who used to cry during commercials and sing off-key in the shower and say, "I'm lucky to have you," every night before bed. She was gone. Replaced by someone colder. Slicker. Crueler. I nodded slowly. "Then go," I said. She blinked. That she didn't expect. "No argument?" "No." "Wow," she said again, almost disappointed. She turned and walked toward the door. Again, she didn't look back. I stood there in the silence she left behind, realizing something brutal. This wasn't about her cheating. It was about who she had to become to do it, and who I had to become to finally let her go. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But something inside me burned down completely, and I had no plans to rebuild it for anyone ever again. The house felt hollow after she left. Not empty hollow. Like the walls still remembered her voice, but they weren't ready to let go yet. I stood in the middle of the living room, not sure if I should start packing her things or burn them. I didn't touch anything. I just walked into our bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. Her side of the closet still smelled like her shampoo. There were 2 heels on the floor, one lying sideways like she'd kicked it off in a hurry. Every little thing was a memory grenade. Her makeup bag on the dresser. That chipped mug with "Boss Babe" written in gold still sitting on the nightstand. It was surreal, how she could detonate our entire life and leave this curated museum of pretend behind. I didn't eat. I couldn't. Instead, I started collecting her lies like puzzle pieces. I opened her drawers, her journals, the "do not touch" box she always kept locked in the nightstand. Turns out the key was under the mattress. Inside were letters. Photos. A hotel room key card with room 508, Friday, scribbled on the back. She kept souvenirs. I sat on the floor, surrounded by evidence, and let the sickness roll through me. How long had she been gone while still pretending to be here? Was it when she started working late? When she stopped asking how my day was? Or when she looked at me and saw a wall, not a man? A calendar was tucked in the box. Not digital. One of those old-school planners. Inside were little heart stickers marking certain weekends. The same weekends I remembered being girls' trips. The betrayal was layered. It wasn't a single moment. It was months of performance. That night, I made one call. My older brother, Nate. The only person who wouldn't feed me platitudes like "time heals" or "you deserve better." He showed up 20 minutes later with 2 six-packs and a box of Chinese takeout. Didn't ask questions. Just sat down beside me and handed me a beer. "You look like a guy who got hit by a truck and then thanked the driver," he said. I laughed. First time I'd laughed in days. I told him everything. No sugarcoating. No shame. Just truth. When I finished, he looked at me for a long time. "She's the kind of woman who walks into a burning house with a gas can," he said finally. "You were the idiot trying to build a nursery in it." That hit. Hard. Because it was true. I kept painting over cracks, thinking love was enough glue to hold it all together. But love without respect is a suicide pact. 2 more beers later, I opened her Instagram again. She'd posted a new story. This one was different. A slow pan of a penthouse bathroom, rose petals, candles, her legs in the tub, and a man's voice humming in the background. She wrote, "Finally free." Nate leaned over my shoulder. "Block her." "I can't." "Why?" "Because I want to see how low she goes." He didn't argue. Just nodded like he understood. We sat in silence for a while. Then he said something I didn't expect. "You know this isn't on you, right?" "Feels like it is." "She chose the knife. You just handed her your back." The next morning, I called a lawyer. I didn't tell her. I didn't need to. Somewhere between the bathtub story and the receipts in that box, the love I had for her curdled into something else. Not hate. Not yet. Something quieter. Like stepping over a gravestone with your name already carved in. I took a week off work. Told them it was personal. They didn't ask. During that week, I gutted the house. Not in rage. With precision. Her clothes, boxed. Her framed quotes about empowerment, taken down. I replaced our wedding photo with a mirror. I wanted to look myself in the eye again. On the 7th day, I took her remaining things to the curb. Left a text. "Your stuff is outside. You've got until sunset." She replied 4 hours later. One line. So petty. That was the first message I didn't respond to. I stared at it, then deleted her contact. Not blocked. Deleted. Because blocking meant I still needed a wall. But I was done building walls. I was going to build something else. And she would never be part of it again. A week later, she showed up. I was on the porch, fixing the crooked hinge on the screen door. One of those little things she used to nag me about but never once tried to fix herself. She pulled up in a black Mercedes that sure as hell wasn't ours, stepped out in heels too high for casual, and sunglasses too dark for 5 p.m. She didn't look nervous. She looked like someone arriving to inspect property she used to own. "You really just left my stuff out in the open like that?" she asked, arms crossed. "It's a public sidewalk," I said without looking up. "Figured you liked an audience." She scoffed. "God, you're so dramatic." This woman. I tightened the screw on the hinge and stood up, wiping my hands on a rag. I didn't ask why she was here. I didn't need to. She wasn't here for closure. She was here to see if I was still broken. She wanted to taste the ashes. "Did you tell your friends?" she asked. "I'm guessing the whole pity parade knows by now." I didn't need to. "You made it public. Remember? The hotel rooms? The giggles? The legs in the bathtub montage?" She shrugged, like it was a TikTok she barely remembered filming. I was trying to move on. "You moved on before you left." And then she said it, what she'd really come to say. "I just thought, after all this time, you'd still care." I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was insane. "You burned the house down and came back to see if the floor was still warm." Her lips tightened. That didn't sit well. Then she reached for her bag, pulled out a manila envelope, and handed it to me. "What's this?" I asked. "Divorce papers." Figured I'd make it easier on both of us. I took them. Didn't open it. "I already filed," I said quietly. "A week ago." Her face faltered. Just a crack, but I saw it. That tiny moment where the mirror she'd been holding up shattered and she saw herself through my eyes. Not as the free spirit, not as the empowered woman reclaiming her joy, but as the liar who couldn't even beat me to the punch. "You never change," she whispered. "I did," I replied. "The second you walked out." She stood there, silent, probably trying to pull the strings she used to control me with. But they were gone. I had cut every one. She finally turned, walked back to the car, heels tapping like war drums. But before she opened the door, she said over her shoulder, "You'll be alone forever, you know." "Better than being with someone who pretends to love me," I said. She didn't respond. Just got in the car and drove off. This time, I didn't watch her disappear. I walked back inside, sat on the couch, and breathed. No weight on my chest. No fake apologies to rehearse in my head. No war inside me over whether she loved me or just needed me. That night, I slept. Deep, real sleep. The kind you don't even remember starting. The kind that doesn't let grief crawl into bed with you. And when I woke up, the air felt different. Not lighter. Just cleaner. Like the storm had finally passed, and I could start cleaning up without fear of more thunder. She was gone. But so was the version of me who thought she was worth saving. 2 months passed. The silence stopped being loud. It became peace. No more second-guessing glances, no more wondering why she stayed late or who she was texting. The tension that once choked every dinner, every drive, every conversation, it evaporated. I started doing things I hadn't done in years. I cooked actual meals, not just for survival. I left the TV off and opened books. I went for long drives with no destination. And most importantly, I stopped waiting for the next betrayal. Because there was no one left to lie to me. One morning, I walked past the mirror in the hallway and stopped. I didn't recognize myself at first. Not because I looked worse. Because I looked better. There was weight in my eyes again, something behind them. Not the defeated man I was when she walked out. Not the ghost who sat alone with cold coffee. I'd started to come back. I got a call from a mutual friend, Amy. She didn't pick sides, never got involved. She just said, "You need to know something." Apparently, the fairy tale didn't last. Marcus, the luxury wrist rebound prince, had moved on. Left her for someone younger, flashier, more obedient. Her Instagram posts had slowed, the hotels replaced by passive-aggressive quotes and cryptic captions about loyalty and healing. She tried reaching out to me. Not directly, she wasn't that brave. She used Amy. Asked how I was. Said she hoped I was okay. Amy asked if I wanted her to pass along a message. I said no. Let her wonder. Let her sit in the silence she told me she wanted. One night, I found myself driving past the restaurant where we had our first anniversary. I didn't plan to, I just ended up there. I parked, got out, walked past the patio we used to sit on, and paused. And I smiled. Not because I missed her. Because I didn't. She was a chapter. A loud, messy, painful chapter. But the book kept going after she left the page. I realized then I wasn't rebuilding myself. I was discovering the parts of me she tried to bury. The quiet man who didn't need chaos to feel alive. The steady soul who loved deeply and didn't deserve to be mocked for it. The man who believed in commitment, even if someone else treated it like a burden. I went home that night and opened the last box she'd left behind. I'd avoided it until then, convinced it would hurt too much. Inside were old notes, some framed pictures, a playlist burned onto a CD from when we first dated. I looked through it, one item at a time. Then I threw it all in the fireplace. Not in rage. In closure. The flames took her voice, her laughter, her lies. Burned every fake promise until only embers remained. I stood there, letting the heat brush my skin, and whispered something I hadn't said out loud in years. Goodbye. And I meant it. Weeks passed. I didn't mark the days anymore. Then one afternoon, as I was loading groceries into my trunk in the parking lot, I heard that voice. Ethan? I turned slowly. There she was. Jessica. Her hair was darker now, shorter. Less styled, more tired. The makeup didn't hide the weight on her face, and her once perfect posture had deflated. She looked like someone who hadn't slept well in a while and was too proud to admit it. I didn't say anything. Just stared. I didn't think I'd run into you, she said, clutching her purse with both hands like it was some kind of shield. How have you been? She was fishing. I could see it. The nerves behind her mascara, the careful phrasing, like she wanted to ask 100 things but didn't know which one wouldn't expose her. I'm fine, I said. Flat. Honest. She nodded too fast. You look different. I am. She laughed, too sharply. You're still short with people. Always hated small talk. I raised an eyebrow. You hated honesty more. Silence. She shifted on her heels. I guess I deserved that. I didn't nod. I didn't agree or comfort her. I let the words hang in the air, right where they belonged. I wanted to say I'm sorry, she said finally. I know it doesn't mean much now, but I was in a bad place. I didn't know what I needed. I exhaled slowly. You said you needed freedom. I gave it to you. Her mouth opened like she had more to say, but nothing came out. So I asked, why now? Why talk to me? She looked down, then up, then cracked. Because I thought he'd be different. Because I thought what we had was broken, but turns out, what I went to. That was worse. He used me, made promises and disappeared. I thought you were the one holding me back, but now I see. I held up a hand. Stop. She froze. Don't rewrite history to make me your safe option, I said. You left. Not because of Marcus, not because of freedom. You left because you didn't respect what we built. You didn't want to fix it. You wanted to escape it. Tears welled in her eyes. She tried to blink them away. I know, she whispered. I know that now. Too late, I said. She took a step closer. Can't we talk sometime? Just to. No. It came out calm. Strong. She blinked. Not even as friends? I shook my head. You don't get the soft version of me. You killed that version. Buried in beneath Instagram stories and hotel keys and laughter behind the camera. She looked like she'd been slapped. Not physically. Soul deep. I got in my car, shut the door, and watched her in the rear view as I pulled away. She stood there for a long time, alone in a parking lot full of strangers, clutching that bag like it was the only thing she had left. And maybe it was. When I got home, I didn't think about her. Not in anger, not in longing, not in anything. I opened the window, let the air in, sat with a cup of coffee in the quiet. It didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned. It was sometime around midnight when my phone buzzed again. No name, just a number I hadn't saved. But I knew it was her. I could feel it in my chest before I even read the message. I don't expect anything. Just wanted to say I'm proud of you. You look like you're doing well. You deserve that. I stared at the screen. Not angry. Not even surprised. Just numb. There was nothing left to say. Not because I didn't have words, but because she no longer earned the right to hear them. So I deleted the message without replying. And for the first time, it didn't feel like a statement. It felt like peace. The next morning, I got up early. I didn't even use an alarm. I just woke up. No weight on my chest. No gnawing ache under my ribs. I made breakfast, went for a run, nodded at a couple strangers on the trail. I didn't think about her. She wasn't part of my story anymore. That night, I started boxing up old photos. Not out of spite. Just space. Emotional spring cleaning. One photo caught my eye, us in Chicago, first year of marriage. She was laughing, leaning into me, and I remember thinking back then, I'll protect that smile forever. But that was the lie, wasn't it? I didn't fail to protect it. She handed it to someone else, and in doing so, freed me from that job. I placed the photo in the box, taped it shut, and labeled it before. Then I picked up a pen and started writing. Not to her. Not about her. To myself. A journal entry. Just me. Just truth. You survived it. You were loyal, patient, and hopeful until the last second. She burned the house down, but you walked out with your soul intact. She said you were draining, but the only thing you ever did was give her more than she deserved. And now? You're still standing. I closed the notebook. And that was it. That was the moment the wound stopped bleeding. She thought walking away would destroy me. But all it did was show me who I never want to be again. No more chasing people who treat my love like a burden. No more waiting at the door for someone who doesn't knock. No more holding the hand of someone already reaching for another. I wasn't broken. I was finally whole. Summer came quietly. There was no dramatic moment where everything suddenly made sense. No epiphany under a sunset. Just small things. Subtle shifts. I stopped checking her social media. Stopped expecting closure. Stopped needing to prove anything to anyone, especially her. One day, I ran into an old friend of hers at a bookstore, Rachel. We exchanged hellos, the kind where both parties know there's 1,000 unsaid things in the air. She told me you wouldn't make it without her, Rachel said after a moment. I smiled, not bitter, genuinely. Guess she was wrong about a lot. Rachel nodded. You seem good. I am. And I meant it. Not perfect. Not healed in every corner. But whole enough to stop bleeding on things that never cut me. That night, I walked into the guest room, the one she always said we didn't need, the one I never touched while we were together. I turned it into something new. A studio. A space for my own noise. I brought in a guitar, an easel, a corkboard of places I wanted to visit. She never asked about my dreams. Not once. And now, without her shadow draped across my shoulders, I started remembering them. I booked a trip. Just a small one. Coastal town, no itinerary, no one to impress. I packed light. Left my phone on silent. For 3 days, I walked through quiet streets, drank coffee in peace, and listened to the ocean without needing to share it with anyone. Freedom, it turned out, wasn't something she had to leave me to find. It was something I had to give myself once I let go of the version of me that needed her. I came back home with a sunburn and a journal full of new ideas. No sadness. No ghost tugging at the back of my mind. She became what all painful people eventually become, a memory. Not a monster. Not a muse. Just a lesson. One evening, as I was locking up the house, I caught my reflection in the window. The man staring back at me wasn't who I used to be. And I didn't want to be him again. Because the truth was, she didn't destroy me. She revealed me. Stripped away the illusions, the dependence, the need to be needed. Forced me to see who I was without her applause. And I liked that man. I trusted him. He didn't chase people anymore. He chased purpose. Peace. Quiet victories. She walked away for freedom. But I found mine by staying.